Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1, coming to you as always live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Rochelle Tumodra. Before we take a look at your stories in detail, these are your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Harupena discounts of up to 30% off frames and sunglasses from Vikramarchi Opticians.
Resolution to increase VAT to 18% with effect from the 1st of January passed by a majority vote. 18% VAT on petrol, diesel and LP gas from the 1st of January 2024. Namal disagrees with the resolution to increase VAT. Mahinda supports it. Concerns mount over the death of a police officer that was ruled as a suicide. Postal workers on a token strike.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Harupena discounts of up to 30% off frames and sunglasses from Vikramarchi Opticians.
Taking a look at our top story for tonight, the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill was passed in Parliament with amendments and would see an 18% VAT being imposed on diesel, petrol and LP gas.
Notably, the Value-Added Amendment Bill was passed in Parliament without a debate despite strong objections from the opposition.
The debate on the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill was originally scheduled for Sunday, the 10th of December. However, it was postponed to Monday, the 11th of December due to a lack of quorum. When Parliament convened earlier on Monday, the ruling faction proposed for the VAT amendments to be made today. However, the opposition opposed it.
Right. Now you are dividing now. So let's go for the vote.
But the decision to make amendments was reached following a debate in the House.
මෙතන දැන් බලන්න අද වාරි මාර්ග සාකච්ඡා කරනවා වැට් එක සාකච්ඡා කරනවා මුදල් පඩ සාකච්ඡා කරනවා මේක පුළුවන්ද
ඒක පොයින්ට් එකක් නෙවෙයිනේ කරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඒක රෑ කීය හරි යනකම් යන්න නෙමෙයි යන්නේ හරි බොහොම ස්තුතියි අපි ඒකට වෝට් ගන්න ඔව් විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි මම විශ්වාස කරනවා ඔබතුමා ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදියෙක් කියලා. නමුත් මේ මොහොත වෙන විට ගරු කතානායකතුමනි මේ වැට් එක වැඩි කිරීම බලපාන්නේ අපේ රටේ දරු පරපුරට, මව් පරපුරට, පුරවැසි පරපුරට, මරණයටත් වැට් එක ගහනවා, ආදාහනයටත් වැට් එක ගහනවා, මලමිනියටත් වැට් එක ගහනවා.
ඒක විවාදිත ගන්න. ඒක විවාදිත ගන්න. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. හයි. කතා කරන්න එපා මේ වෙලාවේ. තමුන්නාසල වෝට් එකක් කිල්ලුවා දැන් බෙල් එක වදිනවා.
A vote took place thereafter and 92 votes were cast in favour of the move to take up the VAT Amendment Bill, while 41 votes were cast against.
41යි වැලකී සිටි එක ඡන්දයයි යෝජනා වැඩි සංජයෙන් සම්මතයි.
VAT amendments were reviewed during the committee stage debate. The opposition called for a debate. However, the government disagreed.
ඊයේ ඔබතුමාලා විවාදය කළානේ.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා භාෂණයේ නිදහස පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය ඉඩ දෙන්න.
හරි.
විවාදය ඕනේ.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
විවාදය ඕනේ.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි. මට මොනවා කරන්නද? ඔල සභාවක ගෙනන්නේ.
හෙට දිනය ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට වැදගත්ම දිනයක්. හෙට දිනේ වෙද්දි 12 වෙනිදා.
Tomorrow is an important day for Sri Lanka. Tomorrow is the day that the IMF will consider approving the second tranche of the IMF program, which is $330 million. The opposition targeted this day and attempted to create some sort of uncertainty in the international community. However, we had to fulfill the needs whether we like it or not. We held debates on this for those who asked for it, and there was no need to drag it. So I think that it is best that we not waste any more time on this and work towards passing the amendment bill in this house.
සභාව තුළ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරා නම් යෝග්‍යයි කියන එක සඳහන් කරමින් මම නිහඬ වෙනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
The second reading of the VAT Amendment Bill was passed by majority vote. 98 votes were received in favour, while 41 votes were cast against it. Thereafter, the third reading of the bill took place after several articles in the VAT Amendment Bill be subject to amendments.
දෙවන වගන්තිය පළවෙනි පිටුව
එක පස්වන පේලියේ සිට 27 වන පේලිය දක්වා වන පේලි ඒ පේලි දෙකද ඇතුළු ඉවත් කරන්න.
Accordingly, the resolution to increase the VAT from 15% to 18% on a plethora of goods and services and to introduce an 18% VAT on new commodities was passed in Parliament. 100 votes were cast in favour while 55 votes were cast against it.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි අද කරපු වැඩේ නම් කුජීත වැඩක් කරේ විරුද්ධයි.
හරි. දයාසිරි ජයසේකර මන්තුමා ඡන්දය පාවිච්චි කරාද?
ගරු කතානායකතුමා මම ඡන්දේ මේ කැඩලා දින මේකට පක්ෂව ඡන්ද දුන්න මිනිස්සුන්ට හෙන හතව ගන්න ඕනේ.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
මේ සාගාන බදු පරතට අපි විරුද්ධයි.
හරි විරුද්ධයි. හරි. ඔව් ගෙමින්දු කුමාරසිංහ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා
කතානායකතුමා පොත්වලටත් බදු ගහලා රණවිරුවන්ට කරන සැපයීම් වලටත්
විරුද්ධ. එකතු කළාගේ මත වදුවැය කිරීම සංශෝධන 50 කෙටුම්පත තුන්වනවර කියවීම පක්ෂව 100යි විපක්ෂව 55යි. ඒ අනුව අංක 6 තුන්වනවර කියවීම වැඩි ඡන්ද 45කින් සම්මත වේ.
Parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva commented on the VAT amendments.
137 goods were not included for some time and 90 of them were removed. We managed to include Ayurveda goods, however during the committee stages they included petrol, diesel and LP gas in the VAT amendment. Milk powder is not subject to VAT, however a glass of milk is subject to VAT. Nutrition is subject to VAT. Medical supplies, fertilizer, tea, rubber, copra as well as public library services are also subject to VAT.
අඩුම ගානේ public library එකේ සේවාවන්ටත් VAT එක ගහනවා.
Approximately 90 goods and services that were never subject to VAT will be subject to VAT following the passage of the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill. The electricity sector has been subject to VAT in addition to petrol, diesel and LP gas. Locally manufactured nutrient-dense food products have also been subject to VAT with its inclusion to the coconut milk-based food category. Lorries, trucks, buses, sports equipment, rubber and plastic product manufacturing equipment, mobile phones and accessories have also been subject to VAT in the non-food category. Multiple devices and goods in the health sector that were never subject to VAT have also been included in the VAT proposal. Fishing equipment, coconut oil and coconut related products, milk and milk related products, tea and rubber production equipment and animal farm equipment are among the other goods that will be included in the VAT. In addition, pearls, gems, gold coins and other metal items that were never subject to VAT have also been included. Books, magazines and stationery that were not subject to VAT earlier have now been included. Machinery linked to the industrial sector, computers and accessories and related equipment have also been included in the VAT bracket. Multiple services that were exempt from VAT are now subject to VAT. In addition, services related to the cinema industry have also been included to VAT.
What are the players in the political arena saying about the VAT increase? Now, SLPP Member of Parliament Namal Rajapaksa earlier said that he would not be attending the Parliament session where the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill was presented.
I will not attend and I have informed the party about it. The opposition says that the civic rights of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa must be removed for reducing taxes. On the other hand, they want to drive Ranil Wickremesinghe away for increasing taxes. They have no moral right to decide on this. We always believe that a simple tax policy must be adopted in this country.
No, we were about to be imprisoned because we lowered taxes. The Aragalaya resulted in more taxes. It is clear that we must make a policy regarding this. We hope to make some political decisions which we hope will result in the said policy decisions. I personally feel that no member of parliament will go against their conscience and vote to increase taxes. But some of the decisions the government makes have to be complied with because they have to adhere to IMF's terms. So in these matters, I don't think the President himself increased the taxes with good conscience, but because he had to. No one is happy with increased taxes, especially when fuel and medicine prices go up, living becomes a burden. The Aragalaya protested against 16-hour cuts, but now we have 1.5 million homes with 24-hour power cuts. Last year, there were queues for fuel, but now those will be taxed as well. There was a group that was reasonable in their struggle. Yet, we are now reaping the consequences of that action.
පැත්තකින් යම්කිසි පිරිසක් අරගලය කරා. ඒකට සාධාරණව සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච පිරිසකුත් හිටියා. ඒ අවසාන ප්‍රතිඵලය තමයි මේ අපි භුක්ති විඳින්නේ අද. විරුද්ධව ලබා දුන්නොත් ඒක නැමෙතන අපි දේශපාලනික වශයෙන්
I think we need to make a decision about whether we should remain with the government in the long term.
නැද්ද කියන කාරණය.
While Member of Parliament Namal Rajapaksa announced his position against the VAT increase, SLPP leader Mahinda Rajapaksa voted in favour of the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill. Chamal Rajapaksa was not in Parliament during the time of the vote. Shashindra Rajapaksa also voted in favour. SLPP MPs, UNP MP Vajrabewardena, Harin Fernando and Manusha Naikara, who joined the government from the SJB, voted in favour of the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Jatika Jana Balawegaya, Freedom People's Congress and Tamil National Alliance voted against the VAT Amendment Bill. Parliamentarians Anura Priyadarshana Yapa, WDJ Seniviratna, Vadivel Suresh, Nimal Lanza and Priyankara Jayaratna voted in favour of the bill. Former Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe and former President Maithripala Sirisena voted against the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill.
The People's Struggle Movement commented on the impact the Trincomalee Development Program will have on the local population during a media briefing in Colombo.
This is the city plan that will be presented under the Trincomalee Development Program after the government hands over the property to India. Around 3,600 families in the Trincomalee city will be removed along with the hospital, prison, university and fishing communities. This is the city that will be built by India after all that is done. This is the city that will be built as per the report presented by Surbana Jurong, Singapore. After the changes depicted in these images are done, one can assume that Trincomalee has become more beautiful and there is no issue in giving it to India. However, the more serious matter is that around 3,600 families in Trincomalee have been asked to vacate in order to build the Indian colony in Trincomalee. They have no place to go. They have not been given an alternative location. Some villages are not even allowed to construct anything as it belongs to India.
නගර සීමාව තුළ කිසිදු ඉදිකිරීමක්වත් මොකුත් කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ මොකද දැන් ඒක ඉන්දියාවට අයිති භූමියක් නිසා.
During a press briefing, the Samagi Joint Trade Union Alliance expressed their views on how prices of fuel will be affected to the new VAT amendments.
Petrol, diesel, gas.
The VAT will be charged for petrol, diesel and gas. It will be increased from 0 to 18%. That means a litre of petrol will increase by 62 rupees and 28 cents. Even if the current prices remain, a litre of petrol costing 346 rupees will have to be purchased at rupees 402 and 28 cents. Diesel will increase by 59 rupees and 22 cents. That means it will jump from 329 rupees to 388 rupees and 22 cents. Currently, there are 4 types of taxes: the Social Security Levy, Excise Tax, Customs Duty and also Ports and Airport Development Levy. Taxes alone exceed 125 rupees. They claim VAT will not be added to the electricity bill. 40% of our power generation happens through fuel. It has only reduced because we are experiencing heavy rain these days. When the price of diesel increases by 59 rupees and 29 cents, won't it increase the electricity bill? It will increase. From the 1st of January, water bills will be calculated through a formula. The minister said that a cost to consider fuel will also be added. When a litre of diesel increases by 59 rupees and 22 cents, the water bill will increase by 30%. LP gas will increase by 680 rupees through the 18% VAT alone. The gas cylinder will also increase in price. There is no two words about it. The government and the Rajapaksa clan will be in heaven while the people are made to suffer.
අලිය තනි අලියගේ වලිගේ එල්ලිලා සුරලව කියනවා ජනතාව නරකාදියට දාලා.
According to projections of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, the Ceylon Electricity Board is to make a profit of nearly 50 billion rupees this year. In view of this situation, the subject minister has decided to call for recommendations from chairmen of 2 state banks regarding the possibility of slashing electricity tariffs.
The decision made on the 15th of February this year to hike electricity tariff by 66% is a matter that is currently being examined in court. Although the second revision carried out in October this year was not challenged in court, Newsfirst revealed on multiple occasions that this too was done in contravention of the Sri Lanka Electricity Act. During the tariff increase in February 2023, 3 members of the PUCSL, since the Chairman Commission at the time, did not exercise the duties they were bound to execute as per the law. Instead, they opted to satisfy the government by agreeing to the tariff revision. When the next revision took place in October, there were no qualms about the loyalty of all members of the commission, including the succeeding chairman to the political establishment. The secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy has now embarked on a course breaching the law and posing a challenge to all 4 members of the PUCSL. Through this particular letter, the secretary has invited several parties for a consultation meeting scheduled for tomorrow. During this meeting, recommendations are to be obtained to establish an electricity tariff setting mechanism and to reduce the cost of electricity. The secretary's sudden urge to establish a new tariff setting mechanism, while such a scientific mechanism is currently in place in accordance with the law, certainly raises eyebrows. Chairman of 2 state banks that do not even have a remote connection to matters pertaining to the cost of electricity, having been invited for this consultation meeting, has fueled further suspicion on this meeting. The meeting is slated to be headed by the subject minister, but it is the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka that has been empowered by Parliament to conduct meetings of this nature. Against such a backdrop, is this not an act of the minister ignoring the land of the law to make decisions on matters the PUCSL is responsible for? It is also prudent to mention that not a single recommendation presented by over 200 stakeholders prior to the electricity tariff revision in February were taken into account. If so, it is no surprise if tomorrow's meeting is viewed as a baseless task. The representatives who have been invited for tomorrow's meeting have been requested to present suitable proposals and suggestions to reduce electricity tariffs. The secretary should have considered who sat at the commission when a decision was made illegally and in an immoral way, influencing these 3 members to increase tariff by 66%, when the PUCSL itself, through a commission paper, had notified that an increase of only 35% would be sufficient. According to this letter, the ulterior motive of this arbitrary meeting could be an attempt to pass on a minor portion of the massive profits enjoyed by the CEB to the consumer that were earned in breach of the Act. That could also be an order from the IMF.
News First with the people. Tharu paid discounts. Enjoy up to 30% off on frames and sunglasses this Christmas with Vikramarachi Opticians.
Welcome back to the news. Relatives have expressed concern over the death of a police officer who reportedly committed suicide on the 6th of December at the police unit located at the Expressway interchange in Palikoda.
Ruwan Kumara Ratnayaka, a 54-year-old police sub-inspector from Nutyaga, Manuradhapura, was found dead on the 6th of December with gunshot injuries. The final rites of the late police officer took place on Saturday, and following the proceedings, relatives told the media that they have suspicions over the cause of death.
An incident had taken place before the alleged suicide. The officer in question had told his wife that he had successfully apprehended a vehicle that was transporting weapons at the Katunayaka Expressway based on information received via the 118 hotline. In addition, he had also informed the acting IP who was in charge of the shift. This person named Adhikari was not even in uniform, and this deceased police officer had observed that the person named Adhikari was getting repeated calls on his mobile. The vehicle was thereafter released, and he assumed it was based on those calls. The relatives say, according to the deceased police officer, 2 men and a woman were travelling in a car. They had spoken about their power and also dropped the names of criminals they had associated themselves with. Based on these revelations, the police officer named Ruwan Kumar was summoned to provide a statement for an inquiry. After all this, the police officer had reported to work and completed his 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. It is said that he committed suicide along the corridor leading to the place where he needed to place his signature to complete his shift. This could have included a plan to commit another crime. Was this committed to prevent any other revelations?
තවත් අපරාධයක් කරන්න හෝ කිරීමට තිබුණු සැලැස්ම අනාවරණය වීම වළක්වා ගැනීම සඳහාද මේ වගේ දෙයක් සිද්ධ වුණේ.
On Saturday, a relative of the deceased police officer spoke to the media.
After he came home, he had told his wife and kids that he would reveal the truth and he would do so at the inquiry. He was summoned for an emergency, and this happened when he had completed his duty. When information was being recorded from that woman, she said that it was she who killed a certain person. He had recorded the details of this woman.
Sri Lanka police said that the sub-inspector has stopped the vehicle in question based on information that it was transporting weapons. Sri Lanka police also added that a woman and two men were travelling in the vehicle at the time. As there were reports of weapons inside the vehicle, the sub-inspector had taken measures to inform the OIC of the matter, as only he and one other officer were present at the location at the time. Sri Lanka police added that after the OIC and a team of officers inspected the vehicle, it was released, noting that it did not contain any weapons. Sri Lanka police went on to note that if there was any impropriety with regard to the vehicle in question, the responsibility lies with the senior most officer at the location, and in this case, the OIC. It added that the deceased sub-inspector was informed to visit the Negombo Police Division to provide a statement with regard to the incident surrounding this vehicle. Sri Lanka police said that even though the judicial medical officer had ruled the death as not suspicious, the Paliagoda HQI is leading an investigation as relatives have expressed concern over the death.
The nationwide token strike by postal workers continued, and people visiting post offices were severely inconvenienced by this.
The Joint Postal Trade Union Collective said that it was protesting against the government's attempts to sell post offices to overseas companies. In addition, they are demanding an allowance of 20,000 rupees from January 2024.
Operations are not taking place at any post office across the country. The token strike will be in effect until midnight tomorrow. This is public property and not the property of Ranil Wickremesinghe or Mahinda Rajapaksa or the 225 in Parliament. You have given promises to the postal workers on 3 occasions. These promises must be fulfilled. If not, after the 12th, we will continue with our action. It can even be a strike.
Operations did not take place at the Borala main post office.
I came to purchase some stamps. I went to the post office in Punchuboral as well, and that is also closed. They must be having their reasons, but as the general public, we are inconvenienced. There is no point in talking about this. Only the common man will suffer because of their actions. If these are not paid today, I will have to pay 2,200 rupees. They don't know our situation, so we have to pay that amount.
The main post offices in Kurunegala, Gaul, Anuradhapura and Damulla did not operate. This was the situation at the Horana post office. The Hambantara main post office and Bundala, Siriyagama, Bandagiriya, Gannorua and other sub-post offices did not provide any services today. The Kandy main post office was also closed today. All post offices in the Nuwara district and Putlam and Moondalam post offices did not provide any services today.
Commemorating the 10th anniversary of China's introduction of the Belt and Road Initiative, the 8th South China Sea Buddhism Shenzen Roundtable took place in Colombo today. The events took place at Temple Trees and the BMICH. The 2023 Colombo Forum of the 8th South China Sea Buddhism Shenzen Roundtable was themed Walking Together in Harmony and Gathering the Wisdom of the Silk Road. The forum is presided over by Venerable Master Yin Shun, a highly esteemed and senior monk in China. The event is hosted by the Hunupitiya Gangaramaya Temple in Colombo. The 2023 South China Sea Buddhism Shenzen Roundtable is organized under the auspices of Venerable Dr. Galabada Jnanisara Thera and held based on the invitation of the chief incumbent of the Gangaramaya Temple, Venerable Dr. Kirinde Assaji Thera. No matter where a Buddhist forum takes place, Sri Lanka has a special place at that forum. We have received this opportunity despite trying times. We are suffering economically, and despite many other obstacles, the decision to hold this forum was taken several months ago. Given the country's situation, it was a challenge. Yet, we accepted the challenge and with faith in the Venerable Master. A series of events from the 11th of December to the 14th of December will take place in Colombo to reinforce bonds among Buddhist communities, addressing topics such as peace and development, cultural exchanges, education, young talent and charitable initiatives. Over 400 delegates representing 32 countries will participate in the discourse, enhancing collaboration and promoting the tourism sector.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka launched 3 guidelines and recommendations to state and other authorities on human rights.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka announced new guidelines and recommendations to state authorities in Colombo at an event titled, quote, Freedom, Equality and Justice for All, unquote, in commemoration of the International Human Rights Day. Accordingly, the Commission launched its guidelines and recommendations to the Sri Lanka Police on prevention of custodial and encounter deaths, guidelines and recommendations on the protection of human rights defenders, and the interim report of the fact-finding mission on right to health and liberty of the patients at the National Institute of Mental Health. The Acting Inspector General of Police, other police officers as well as state officials were present for the launch of these guidelines and recommendations.
From January 2022 to the 31st of August 2023, 24 killings have been reported outside the legal framework. 13 killings have been reported in an encounter between police, government and other officials. There have been reports of killings while searching for weapons, other equipments and drugs. There have been reports of killings as a result of torture. Deaths occurring due to the negligence of authorities too have been reported. Then, if they are killed without a fair trial, without a judicial process, it is a serious violation of the Constitution. In many encounters, it is said that there was a fear of death and we retaliated because of that. The reactions are not proportionate to the action. When somebody is attacked by a stick, it is not right to retaliate with shooting.
IPG Media Brands, the Media and Marketing Solutions division of Interpublic Group, announced an affiliate agreement with the Insight Hive Private Limited for the launch of 2 new agencies.
IPG Media Brands, the Media and Marketing Solutions division, announced an affiliate agreement with Insight Hive Private Limited for the launch of 2 new agencies, Sri Lanka and Initiative Sri Lanka. The announcement comes following recent news of new agency launches in New Zealand and Pakistan earlier this year and expands the IPG Media Brands network footprint across 16 countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Leigh Terry, CEO of IPG Media Brands, said the network's expansion into 3 new growth markets this year is not only testament to the strength and vitality of our media agencies and the demand for their services, but it also signals the health and recovery of the industry within the Asia-Pacific region. Peter Solomon, Managing Director of IPG Media Brands Sri Lanka, said this alliance with IPG Media Brands is a major landmark for Insight Hive. IPG Media Brands' affiliate relationship with Insight Hive for Sri Lanka and Initiative Sri Lanka is effective immediately.
A special Christmas program for the third leg of the LOLC Divisavya program took place today.
Schools with less than 150 students were provided with school books, school bags and other stationery items that they require for a period of 1 year under the LOLC Divisavya program. The LOLC Divisavya program is carried out with the assistance of the Ministry of Education. Today's program took place in Matara, Kandy, Mullaitivu and Anuradhapura. School books and other stationery items required by students for a period of 1 year were presented to students from the Naimbala Bandaravatta Mahavidyalaya Matara, Mavil Mada Mahavidyalaya Kandy, Mantuil Arasaratham Vidyalaya Mullaitivu and Madavalagama Primary Vidyalaya Anuradhapura. The LOLC Divisavya program will continue to build a brighter future for the Sri Lankan student population.
The first South Asian Open Taekwondo Championship opened in Colombo.
The first South Asian Open Taekwondo Championship is part of the Taekwondo Championship Colombo 2023, organised by the Sri Lanka Taekwondo Federation, and it is taking place at the Sakatadasa Indoor Stadium. Over 2,300 local and international participants are taking part in the entire championship. Recently, the GCS International Open Taekwondo Championship took place along with the Asia International Open Taekwondo Championship and the GCS International Conference. The South Asian Open Taekwondo Championship will conclude tomorrow.
And that's a wrap up for Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you
and good night.